Thank you very much for the nice introduction. First of all, I would like to thank to Gabriëlle and Binna for the invitation today. I'm very pleased to be a part of this conference and the festival, to looking at the very interesting information and the lectures and the artistic interventions and all kinds of conversations. And today my presentation consists of two parts. The first part is introducing my curatorial practice, which Binna was talked about, sharing as caring. And the second part, sharing as caring and the Shiori project. And the second part is a kind of short, small insight about what I have been thinking after the Fukushima catastrophe. So it's a little bit two different modes of presentation put into one. So sharing as caring, presence for the future. This is an annual cabinet exhibition in Heidelberg Kunstverein on the theme of Fukushima catastrophe. It started in 2012, and as she mentioned, Binna mentioned, it's 5-year perspective, so at least try to continue until 2016. So every March in Heidelberg Kunstverein, sharing as caring takes place. And for me, this is a cabinet show, which means quite small intervention as an exhibition. But this small size was very important for me to start with, and multiple years, for 5 years. Because mainly of two reasons. One is what we were talking and referring many times of this unrepresentability of such a big catastrophe, which is beyond the imagination. And I did not know how to deal with this unrepresentationability as a curator who's supposed to represent something. And the second is how to deal with this all kind of information. I did not want to deal with this Fukushima catastrophe just as dealing with information, but wanted to deal with as something more. So with these two reasons, for me, doing this cabinet show is the most appropriate way of a curatorial practice that I wanted to do. I must say, it is quite amazing that so many images and news and reports and documentaries, interviews, art films have been made not only at the stake of an incident, but also afterwards, continuously until now, by a quite wide range of the people. People from just have a camera, shooting with a mobile phone, to like a professional people, like a professional filmmaker and artist. However, I time to time hear the voices from Japan saying these images not only cannot tell what it was or what it is, but also they failed to provide the imagination what was actually like. Actually, this was a comment from Fukushima rock and rollers in the interview. I guess most of us here, including me, neither experienced the catastrophe directly, nor do not live in Japan now. If all these numbers of the material that have been produced have not been succeeded to communicate what has happened or what has been happening and what will happen due to the unrepresentability of a disaster, or somehow with or without notice or intention turn to be so quickly to be cliché because of the sphere or laws or grammar of the images changing so rapidly today, then what can we really understand? Or how can we share the imagination? Or in another way, why do we still produce, show, and watch these images and what does it mean to engage in this series of acts. The project Sharing as Caring aims at searching for the ways to imagine what you did not experience and look for how to share something that is beyond imaginable. Simultaneously, it attempts to establish to concrete relationship among the people between Heidelberg and in the region where all this catastrophe hit. And after 5 years of my curatorial attempts, I really hope something slowly started out of it and continue it without my curatorial work. If I may call it as a curatorial, things which will happen after 5 years will be my concept. So this year, one of the projects in Sharing as Caring in 2013, Shiori project is presented. Shiori project from Fukushima to Heidelberg by Chihiro Minato, which by now you have been familiar with him, a Japanese photographer and anthropologist and art critic. Shiori means bookmark in English. In the project, we use 4 different photos that Minato took after Fukushima catastrophe. For example, this is an image of Itate village. You can see beautiful red poppies are blossoming here. And this picture was taken in June 2011 on the day the village had to be entirely evacuated. And this scenery is so beautiful exactly because what Binna was mentioning in the introduction, paradox of sensing and meanings. Because this landscape is radio contaminated, radio contamination makes the nature more bigger contrast of the color in nature. So this red of the red poppies become more beautiful than the usual and tempting for the human eyes. So we cut each image into 4 to 5 slits to make Shiori. And as I was mentioning before, this is a Shiori. It's a really small piece of a paper which you can put it in between your books. Actually, backside is also quite nice, not to forget. And as you can see, each Shiori shows only a part of the image, whole image. And that is how, in a sense, reflecting how we can always perceive the reality every day. Minato says, Shiori is a traveler, moving from one page to another page. Shiori gives a moment between reading and thinking and putting your thought into words. In Heidelberg, 30,000 bookmarks distributed in 20 places for a free take. On Shiori, it says a web address of the project. So if you access to the address, actually you are able to see the whole images of the Shiori which you have, and also another images. And you can also post comments and images, as well as you can see other people's posts and comments, how Shiori travels around you or in another people's. Sometimes Minato also takes part in and make a comments on it. And actually later of this year, he will make additional shooting in Germany, especially around the area of Golimben, where nuclear waste is kind of dumped in this specific area. And using this image, we will make another set of further of Shiori and distribute it not only in Heidelberg, but also different places in Japan at this moment. I hope we can distribute it in Amsterdam as well. So in this occasion of the conference, as Binna mentioned, 1,000 of Shiori is transported from Heidelberg. So please feel free to take one and let Shiori travels in Amsterdam as well. Another project which is presented in this context of sharing and caring this year is Onagawa project. Onagawa is the name of a city and located the north of Fukushima. And this is one of the cities which is severely damaged by the catastrophe and the tsunami. And the Onagawa project aims at setting up the occasion to create a new type, to create a dialogues and doing an activity together with the people who are in the city to rebuild the community and the invisible infrastructure. Many people, of course, talks about directly refer to Fukushima, but of course, with the kind of strong damages of tsunami, as you can see, the whole red part, the northern part of Japan faced the Pacific Ocean was whole damaged. The unique point of this project is, as you can see in the map, members of this project are coming from different cities in different parts of Japan and the different cities with a different profession. They come to Onagawa and do things and dialogue and learn from the experience in Onagawa and goes back to bring the knowledge which they kind of cultivated and create a kind of continuous circle between where they are from and Onagawa. Another point of the important aspect of this project is strong sense of fear always create a sense of discrimination. Radiation is a typical example. And there are already some sort of discrimination, of course, emerging against the people in Fukushima and the region around, and all the object and things from the nature as well. So by taking this kind of circular structures of a movement of the people and movement of the information, this project tried to have a different stance and try to develop a kind of point of view against such a discriminative attitude. But actually what is shown in the exhibition at this moment is photo documentation about Suzunosuke by Kusamoto Tokie, a Japanese female photographer. Suzunosuke was 5 years old when he experienced a catastrophe and tsunami, and now he is 7. He and his family still live in a temporary shelter, which is 4.5 square meter big, 4.5 square meter. So what does he think about the tsunami? Or how does he live with the memory every day? As one of the continuous trend for the 5 years project of sharing and caring, I present his documentation photo every year as a part, so that people in Heidelberg see and know how he grew up and knows about him gradually. He is a kind of concrete point started to unfold the information, not in an abstracted way, but in a concrete manner. And eventually in the future, when he will be old enough, he can visit Heidelberg to share his experience and thoughts. So this is a kind of explanation and introduction of a curatorial work which I've been doing in Heidelberg. Now move on to the second part, which is a small insight about what I have been thinking. We are surrounded by practices of measurement. Every day we read and hear about astronomically big numbers or unimaginably small figures through which the financial crisis, as well as environmental hazards and catastrophes, are explained. Those measurements directly penetrate our life and death, and the world of being and becoming. However, scientific numbers contain a high sense of abstraction. For example, how can we understand tiny existence represented in abstract numbers such as 0.004, or a big number such as 400 billion? What do these numbers tell you? Or what does it prove to us? With an increasing mathematization of a society, almost everything is translated into numbers. There is an increasing tendency to grasp the quality in numbers, as we all know very well. For example, effects of education, exhibition, or personal potential and capacity, values of artworks. Are we obsessed to believe in number by certain ways of indexing, calculating, shown by device, or exhibited by expert? In the dynamic range of numbers from micro to macro, would it be sufficient to adapt the same rule in understanding whatever the number is? Scale changes in knowledge practices. Sociologist Sophie Hudaut questions on the scale of being. She asks, quotation, "How are certain or unstable entities that are not very or not at all visible brought to existence? How are they qualified, defined, and stabilized? How are they scaled up and down in order for social agents to interact with them?" Quote ends. Then, what kind of meanings are created by the act of measuring, such as measuring entities constantly flow and change and hard to grasp? Can everything is measurable and put it into numbers? One 1.38, 1.38, 0.79, 0.79, 0.84, 0.32, 0.524, 1.32, 1.26, 0.949, and 1.22. This is a list of the number that I took out from the result of the one measurement. Can you just guess from out of blue what kind of numbers are they? Or what do they mean, or where it comes from? Actually, they are the radiation level for iPhone and other mobile phones. It's called SAR, specific absorption rate, a measure of the amount of radio frequency energy absorbed by body when you are using a mobile phone. This kind of explanation is also done by a neuroscientist, report on the impact of mobile phones to the brain. It says the possible risk of a radio frequency electromagnetic field for the human body is a growing concern for our society. And then they did some experiment. And 3 groups, each of 8 rats, were exposed for 2 hours to global system for mobile communication, mobile phone, electromagnetic fields of a different strengths. We found highly significant measurement, highly significant evidence. P is smaller than 0.002 for neural damage in the cortex and hippocampus and basal ganglia in the brain of exposed rats. Rats are usually not the mobile phone subscribers. What does it mean for rats? And then, how shall we translate these numbers? Or what do they mean for human beings? Next list of numbers: 0.09, 5.12, 0.63, 1.88, 1.93, 7.3, 26.4, 0.36, 1.88, 0.09, 0.19, 0.0787, 0.0854. Could you imagine what kind of number is this? Actually, this was radiation measurement monitoring on the March 12th and 13th at 8 o'clock in the morning, 2011. This kind of report is, of course, constantly updated, and as also Binna said, until I found 2012's October for the updated this kind of measurements. And radio monitoring is also described in the text format as well. This is a monitoring explanation on 26th of April 2011. On 25th April, deposition of cesium-137 was detected in 5 prefectures. The value reported ranging from 3.2 to 20 becquerel per square meter. A general decreasing trend has been observed in all locations since around 20th of March. For Fukushima Prefecture, gamma dose rate in recent days were in the range of 1.7 to 1.8 microsievert, and Ibaraki Prefecture, gamma dose rate was slightly below 0.12 microsievert per hour, and in all other prefectures, reported gamma dose rate were below 0.1 microsievert per hour, with a similar decreasing trend. These numbers seem to be very precise and try to tell us something. But what can you really say about these numbers? How precise they are, or how right they are, or how appropriate they are? Here is a last example of the list. 1.50, 1.89, 0.79, 1.29, 0.35, 0.99, 1.59, 0.19, 0.25, 0.19, and 0.25. Actually, this is my shopping receipt at Aldi Kreuzberg in Berlin. Thank you.